All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Clean Winners. I'm here with Kyle, as you can see. Now that everybody knows he goes to another school, but he's real, he's decided to stick around. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I think yesterday showed us just how unpredictable tennis betting can be. We had seeds get decapitated in Hong Kong, a result that nobody saw coming in the Opelka match. I said, this is why tennis betting is not for the weak of heart.
I'm glad you said that, right? Because people have to remember it is gambling for a reason. And, it started out I think Ito was the first one, just been just silly cash so far. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. Then Burrell has a match point. I'm like, boy, about to start this 2-0. That's the best way to start the rest of the day's gravy. I just, you know what? I'll touch on that one here. This, folks, is part of the reason. A, it's unpredictable. And B, I have these players like Burrell. And I'm like, I don't really want to get involved here. And then the moment I'm like, you know what? Playing better, she burned me the last round. Let's see if she can do it. I do it, and it's like, you know what? I'll get up a set, then I'll go down 5-love in the second set, doing the same thing and wondering why it's not working. Then I'll make an adjustment in the third set, blow the break point and blow the match point I have. Dude, that's the difference in some of these matches. 2 points. You lose the break, you don't convert your break point, you don't convert your match point, and your opponent converts their one break point and their one match point. That's it. Match over. 2 points right there.
And that's quite frankly why we love talking tennis, though, because it is those sicko hours of those points where we could easily be sat here fist pumping another big victory for Burrell. Instead, we're kind of licking our wounds. We've had a few tough matches go against us here in the McPeters betting average.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, right? That's what it is. It's a knife's edge, and again, as frustrating as that was, she was plus money, like slightly plus. So you're like, okay, I'm technically completely even. But then Kruger comes out and lays an egg. So I think part of that though is more about the Kudermetova effect. We were just talking about her. It's one of those where like when she gets on runs, you just got to ride it. But there's going to be times where it's just going to be a flame out L machine if you're not careful. Like you said, the errors will just pile up, dude, like a heap of trash. And we'll get to that. You saw the GMP match. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in my boy Mensich. If you're gonna lose to a dog, go out, shake his hand, just tell the man he beat you. But as we were saying off air, I just think by the time you get done playing GMP, you're shell shocked. You've been in the trenches like in World War II. You're just getting shelled to oblivion. You don't know if you're standing or sitting by the time you go to shake his hand. And if he was any older than 21, we might be having a conversation here of like, do we
Mm.
condone this like curious ass like I lost, but fuck you kind of stuff. But he's a baby faced assassin. Like, let's give him some time. We're definitely monitoring that. We have a three strike system on youth players we like to pump. So if we start to see that kind of problematic after the match sort of handshake, I'll be selling his stock.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you. I do think it's got to be so anything. So if nobody here has played tennis against like a big server, and I mean like a legit big server, not like what my dad's telling me, I was playing this guy, dude, and he was dropping these massive kick serves. And I'm like, that guy probably played tennis in high school 15 years ago in Kansas, dad. Like, come on. I'm talking like guys who you just can't do anything, right? The racket's out of your hand. Nothing is more satisfying than beating a dude like that. You're like, let's go, you one trick pony. By contrast, it feels horrible when you're just sitting there like, God, this guy's just doing one thing and there's nothing I can do. So I kind of understand that. And like, GMP had that half volley pickup on match point for great return that must have made Mensick furious. So some of that I understand, but I agree with you. You don't want to see it continue. It's just one time of frustration and you move on from there, especially against GMP, right? Not like a guy
Yeah.
who's doing something getting in your face.
But looking around the globe, what else did you see that stuck out to you when you were following these matches? Anybody that you're going to be
Hmm.
back in long run that you're like, I think I found some value there? I know we were both impressed with Ray Sakamoto, even though he lost. As
I,
somebody we're going to be riding, is there anybody else that stood out to you?
I liked this fight. I thought it was good. From some of the women's levels, obviously I've been talking about Ito. It's straight sets, like no sweat bet. You're not going to have that. That's not a common thing. A lot of times your close lines are going to look like the Burrow match, not like that. I was watching Iala and CG away, right? And I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, this level is starting to resemble WTA. So I think watching both of them, I definitely think I should have been on Way watching that match. I think that she's probably undervalued. People, for some reason, like Ayala more, maybe the lefty like you, they get gassed up. I think that's certainly one from the women's perspective. And I was really enjoying the way Claire Towson was hitting the ball before the rain delay. I saw her coming out. I was like, she is cracking it today. And we've seen her do that kind of stuff before, make deep runs. So I was enjoying those two. I think from the men's perspective, I'll
I gotta
let you
say it.
touch.
Karatsev might be
Yeah,
back. Karatsev
I knew
just
it.
served up a plate of Cope and Johns. I watched that match before going to bed, and I mean, it's ball striking porn off that backhand side. Does he look like he could fall apart at any moment? Yes. However, he looks like there's something between Karatsev's ears this time. It looks like he's put the brain in motion, and I'm telling you, that could be dangerous coming into the Australian swing.
Didn't he break? Wasn't that like where he came through the first time? Was it
Yeah, he
Aussie?
had like
Yeah.
there's always something interesting going into January. We call it the Verdasco factor. Who's going to end December so strong that they come into January like a house on fire? And Karatsev that year had the United Cup and then the deep run in Australia. And I feel like he's starting to put it back together. He had a very strong end to December where there was more consistency in his results. And then this final run, that tells me something. You would just be scared to play Karatsev.
I agree with you there. And especially since Barrere went 8-6 in a third set breaker with Sakamoto, he's actually 2-1 versus Karatsev all time, but we'll touch on that one later. I was looking at that. I was like, that's going to be tough to turn around and hit it again against a guy who's on fire.
And then another one I've got to flag is
Yeah.
as a big lover of short shorts, I think that we're going to be talking a lot about Mahatch this year. He was seriously impressive against one trick pony Kaboli, who is a tough out. And I think every match he's played at the United Cup so far, he has been rock solid dynamite. And that kind of game with that athleticism, I think he's going to have a few deep runs if he keeps the fitness together. I know he's had like the early Murray effect of cramping. If he sorts that out, we could be looking at somebody that makes us a lot of money this year.
I also think he's generally reliable in the sense that he'll beat the guys you expect him to beat. That's what kind of you look for, right? The worst thing is the Madison Keys effect. To speak about someone who was struggling with
Or
thousand.
Sloane Stevens.
Oh, Sloane Stevens, man, that's got to be the toughest one where it's like I can't really predict what you're gonna do match to match. And Ethan Quinn, you sold on that one yet? We were
you,
pretty on
you,
Lando Lutz.
you know, if we're allowed to just walk into a little bit of the betting world, the meat and potatoes of the show, so to speak, at
Mm-hmm.
plus 390, I love him today against Fonseca. 11 match win streak. And tell you the truth, I thought it would be closer against Landalus. I thought the ball striking that the Spaniard would bring would trouble Ethan, but I'd be surprised. I don't think the guy got out of second gear. He just looked like he's in control. And when you're seeing that ball as big as a watermelon, it's tough. Now, conversely, it is a Fonseca that against a Fernley just beat the brakes off him.
Yeah, I was
But
impressed because Fonseca has a tendency to kind of.
And you know what was scary? Like we've talked about it off air, but when Fonseca figures out the return game, he's going to be nasty. And
Yeah.
against Fernley, he was doing a really good job of just not taking the biggest swipe at the return you've ever seen and just neutralizing that and then getting into a place in the rally where he has so much natural power, he can rip through anybody. Um, so
I tend to agree with that. You know what? And with that, we'll just head right into the betting portion, especially because we already reminded people that this is, it's
it's a
gambling.
wild card. Like
Yeah.
only bet what you're happy to lose. And if you've got a problem, reach out to a friend. But strictly speaking, I would take a flyer on Ethan Quinn today. It's not gonna be like Fonseca's playing your local postman Pat out there. Like I think Quinn's got a bit about him, and there's something about confidence in tennis that can make you feel like a giant killer out there.
Right there. That is I like that. It is very true. I was trying to put my finger on a way to quantify it, but that's the best way to make you feel like a giant killer. Yeah, I don't think Fonseca is reliable enough to be, that big of a minus 600 favorite against a dude who's won like 12 matches in a row, who won in straight sets in the semifinals against a player who is ostensibly near Fonseca's level. So I'm with you there. We'll see if it makes it to best bets, right? It may be we may have like a different section for something that's like a dog more than, plus 300. Proceed with caution, but I certainly like the sentiment. Or anything else you see early on that's piquing your interest? There's got to be a few.
I mean, another big one is it again. I don't know if a lot of mine are making it to best bets or like do your research, but I like the Rybakina match.
Mm,
She's got a lot going on this offseason. She's got
mm.
the phenomenal server and Goran Ivanisevic in her corner. And if there's one thing we know about that guy, he knows how to coach winners.
Yeah, that's true.
So she's plus, I think I saw her at plus 170 on FanDuel this morning.
Hmm.
And I don't hate it. She has shown that she has got the firepower to test Swantek. So
When
I
was her
think
last
it's
match? I want
worth
to
a
see if I
look.
can find this. When was her last match? Oh, of course they don't have it on abstract. I have to look it up. It's going to be interesting to watch because, like you said, there's some stuff that's been going on here and there. So the last time she played, obviously lost in the second round of the U.S. Open to Jessica Ponchette. Like she just withdrew, I think. Yeah, withdrew. Um, I think injury. Then played in November in Riyadh, beat Sabalenka, then lost to Pellini and Zhang, didn't get past the round robin stage. And then like right after, weirdly lost in the Billie Jean King Cup 2-2 to some random person. And that was the last time she played, right? So I imagine she's probably a little more focused, new coach, hopefully putting some drama in the rearview mirror. I think you're right. I'm gonna watch it, certainly. I don't know that I'll get behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this January, like we have our best bets, and then I do think it's nice to set a roadmap of players to watch. And that's when if she finds confidence early in the season, the market tends to move slowly. People go on assumptions, and she's got such a backlog of like poor results stacked up from last year that I think there will be some value there. The same goes with I take Mukova in any match. Honestly, she's quickly becoming one of my favorite
Yeah.
WTA players. One to watch, and two, she's usually good value for money.
So it's funny, on Tennis Abstract, they have like an ELO rating, right? Which is kind of like a strength of schedule. It's like a bootleg UTR, I guess. I don't know. I've never actually used UTR for like the women's tennis. I've looked at it here and there, but they have a difference of ranking, right? Well, they'll show like, oh, your ELO says you're the eighth player in the world, but your ranking's 20, or vice versa, right? There's a lot of people who basically Tennis Abstract is like, you haven't played the toughest competition to get to
The
where you
Paolo
are.
Lorenzi scale, so to speak.
Yeah.
Are you stacking up little pony events and just not entering the big dog
Yeah,
races?
or you're just getting lucky sometimes on who you're playing, right? And so you look at this kind of stuff, and she's one of those people where her ranking is 22, but her ELO was like 7. And you look at it, she just beat Paolini, right? Like, and it wasn't really, I like the first set had a little drama, but it never really felt close. I was like, it feels like Mukova's in control of this. It's just a matter of whether or not the game's going to go to deuce because she missed some winners.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one. Hold on, let me look at this real quick. Dude, that's something we should probably do. I should probably look at like UTR scale and see.
Yeah, compare it with the yellow. So we have that would help us
Yeah,
and help the
compare it with
listener.
ranking too and see like, hey, does UTR think that you're like, or ELO think that you're doing much better than your ranking kind of thing? So I don't know. I'll do that for the next episode. I'm not gonna bother with it right now. What is her line on that match? Plus 135, boy.
Uh, uh,
Ooh.
Worth a sniff.
I think that may be worth more than a sniff. I wonder if she's played golf before. Again, these are the types of things normally I'd have this ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick check, but I think looking at it preliminarily and how she played the last time, if she's a player who's kind of doing well, who's hot, she can do well. Okay, so this is
So
probably
the
the
only
reason
the only
why.
thing that's tough is Goff does have a three does have a recent victory over her.
She's 3-0 on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, all straight sets. So that's kind of tough. I don't know if it's going to make it to best bets because of that, but I got to look. Let me see the
That could
conditions.
be another one that we put in the category of bet at your own risk because I don't think
Yeah.
Mukova's the same player that she might have been in those three head-to-heads with Goff. It feels like she's come over leaps and bounds since coming back from her injury.
I do think, yeah. Well, when they played the last time, Beijing. So at the September last year, probably should have been fine then, right? But it's like
Yeah, Goff was on a heater. So yeah, definitely one. Just
Goff
if
was
you're
definitely
willing,
on a heater.
take a sniff.
And I'm a and I'm looking at her last matches, right, that Mukova played. So her losses, she lost to Fernandez in Paris in 3 sets on clay, right? Still probably a match I would have expected her to win. Lost to Pagula in 3 sets in Cincinnati. Lost to Pagula in 3 sets in the U.S. Open semis, right? And then lost to Goff in the finals of Beijing, and then had to retire against Andreeva because she got hurt later in Ningbo. So I'm looking at this, and it's like out of your last 20 matches, your 3 losses are in 3 sets twice to Bagula and once to Goff. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no,
That is
she's
pretty
playing
good.
proper tennis. Yeah,
I like it. But let's see if it. We'll discuss it later. But again, it's we can give our insight to anything. We can window shop all we want. The best bets is just like we said. You're going to go up to the register, take out your hard-earned money, and put it down on the table. So a few things here. Unfortunately, the Volley Nets Alicia Parks match got delayed. So technically, we were 3-3 yesterday. Is that what we went? We handed out a lot of plays yesterday. And I
I think on the
think
men's side, on our best bets, we went 2 out of 3. We missed on
2 out of 3
Landalus. We got GMP,
and Shang.
and Big Money Shang came through for
And that was
us.
good with us on Shang because that was our number one
We
play.
stuck. We opened it. That would have been a tough intro for me to the podcast. Hello world. I know
Picking
nothing
him
about
up.
tennis. Instead,
Yeah,
and honestly, it was looking that way. I looked last
I
night. It was like
know.
he lost that first set 6-1. I was like, am I gonna have to come and do the biggest mea culpa at the start of this pod? And I went to bed. I was like, I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna let 2 Chainz come back for me. And lo and behold, like the young lefty digger came out and did something for me.
I watched a little of the second set before I went to sleep. I was like so tired. It's like I should not be up watching this. But he was playing better. Also, it was one of those where I was like, "Come on, Marjan, bro! Like this isn't gonna continue. This
Yeah,
isn't gonna. You're not gonna Opelka this guy here." Which
I think I read somewhere that Jason was saying that he's got the best drop shots on tour. So in my mind, I'm gonna watch the highlights later. But if he's cooking with that drop shot, I think he can beat. I mean, he's beaten Alcaraz, and that's something right there.
that is true. So I was there for that. Obviously, Burrow burned us. Otherwise, we'd be at 4-2, and it wouldn't really matter with volley nets. Right now, 3-3 because Ito was money. Kruger just got beat. That one I was just wrong about. Happens. I don't think I was wrong. Burrow just got burned. The Burrow effect. I'm still gonna be behind volley nets today over Alicia Parks. I'm definitely going to go ahead and get behind that one. And I think the day of not playing will actually help her. Now, here's an interesting question for you, Kyle. Some sites will offer odds on matches in progress. So right now, Madison Keys plus 130, Clara Towson minus 155 in that match where Towson won the first set and is serving 3-4 in the second. Would you advocate potentially getting involved in a match in progress that had that day break due to the rain delay?
I think a lot of things go into that. You'd have to look at the history of the player. And it's funny, we talked about Towson. She's had struggles with fitness, with her own health. And she's got the sort of game where it feels like when things are clicking, it's clicking. And when things aren't, she's off. Um, so I would take that into consideration. But it's hard because she's only what realistically, she's just got to hold twice. And like how much do we rate her serve? I guess that's something that you should be looking at? Like, what were her serving stats looking like even before they went into the rain delay? Do you think she was like putting up sustainable? Because we've both played matches where you're getting hot in different elements, but you might come off the court and be like, I didn't serve well. I never felt like I had it. I just was kind of lucky that Keys wasn't in it herself. So that's something. It's a coin flip. I mean, that's another one.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable and you've got a bit of Django in your pocket and you feel like tossing one out, it's worth a flyer because if there's one thing we have seen in the WTA that breaking serve does seem to happen a little more often. So there's something to be said about that.
I do think like I wouldn't rely on it because towards the latter part of the match, they were both kind of working their way into each other's serve games, and there were a lot of long games. So it's really just about how many shots can you make. And, again, for Keys, it's like if she's on, you can't really do anything. But if she has her dip at the wrong time, like she could lose to anybody. So for me, I already have a little sprinkled on Towson. So I'll probably take some Keys because I have sprinkled on Towson at plus 210 or whatever she was as the last leg of a parlay. So I'm definitely gonna have some on Keys because I don't want to be sitting there, holding the complete bag for a Jerry Shang, Ito, and Clara Towson parlay. And what actually helped yesterday that Shang was the last match because
Oh,
that was our highest confidence. And it's like, you know what? If you've been burned, you can sprinkle a little more. Or if you, I mean, I think at that point we probably were 3-3. So that extra little bit helped us. Or 3-3, were we two with the, or no, 1-1 on the men, 1-2 on the women. So hopefully people saw that and said, you know what, I'm gonna go degenerate and dig deeper in the hole to get out. Always the play, Kyle. Always the
well,
play.
we'll have to call Stanberry just to see what his thoughts were on that one.
that's more of a that's more of a Bo Hart or Crazy Owl special. Anyhow, okay. Let me see if there's anything else here. Obviously, I'm gonna advocate getting behind Ito again. I had
Right,
texted
she's the
you
patron saint of this podcast.
exactly. I'm telling you, man. I was watching the WTA like the Osaka tournaments. And I think there was another one, maybe the Tokyo one last year. And I saw quite a few, like I was watching a few players that had turned out to be making money, right? That's where Burrow got to the finals. And then I was watching Suzanne Lehman's really in depth for the first time. Zeynep Sonmez, who I like, lost in the qualifiers earlier this year, but I liked her. She went on to win Merida later. Like again, Ito players where I'm like, whoa, who the heck are these guys? And they provide a lot of value. And I texted you yesterday, anything less than 150, got to get right on the Ito train. Here she is minus 145. So I like the way CJ was playing, but that court in Canberra is kind of out there, kind of like not protected. And it's
Mm.
just an open court. It was kind of windy, and the slow, like awkward balls in the wind, or those kind of like, high balls that land like just inside the sideline to your backhand were giving problems to both players yesterday when I was watching Wei and Iala. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of that from Ito, and it's going to start to frustrate Wei. Also, they've played twice before, and Ito's won in straight sets both times. So
I mean, the rule in this podcast is when in doubt, back Ito. You know,
exactly, dude.
um, another one that I want to raise your attention in, and it's in the same United Cup match. Shevchenko versus Hurkacz is one that I will be watching. Hurkacz has had an equipment change. I never know how much dark arts is between racket changes where they could have just painted over it, do a little mysteriousness. Um, but it's to be said that he's got a Wilson racket. So I'm using that to form this judgment. And he hasn't looked as rock solid as Hubie Hurkacz has looked before. And Shevchenko did look like utter shit in the very first match of the United Cup. He got spanked 1-2, but he beat Tsitsipas, which is no slouch. And I just kind of think in the Australian weather, there's nobody worse than playing a bulldog like Sheba. And he's plus money at 260 when I looked this morning. So it could be worth one to get behind.
And they've played 3 times. Hercax has won 3 times, but twice they've gone 3 sets and had breakers in there. So I think that perhaps you might be onto something. You may have a couple of spicy dogs here, we'll call them. We may not put them best bets, but
Yeah,
you may have a couple of dirty
I
dogs
think
that you
best
like.
bets you might be bringing to the window, and I'll be bringing up the spicy bets if
I
you want to
like
get
that. I like
ambitious
some
with
dirty
it.
dogs that we can put in there, and we'll track those separately, right? Because obviously,
Yeah,
like you said, bet with your own risk. Now, let's get to what may be your main course. You see these 2 matches today in Brisbane. Well, we'll start with Lehechka and Dimitrov. What do you like there?
I've got to be honest with the listeners. I think Lehechka has the upset potential. There's a few factors here. Also, comfortability at the tournament. I think Lehechka, every time he's played Brisbane, it was either Brisbane 1 or Brisbane 2 that he won last year against Jack Draper in the final. I believe they're played at the same location. So there's comfort with those courts. And he has just looked like a Terminator playing really high level tennis. And usually the worry with Lehechka is he gets a little nervy on his second serve, but I have not been seeing him chuck as many doubles as he did back end of last year.
Yeah, and I think that it could be one of those things where Dimitrov came out yesterday and basically didn't have a match. Like something was
Yeah.
clearly wrong with Thompson. Which, by the way, as a side, the book I use when matches get defaulted, it's a push. They just give your money back, win or lose, which I'm fine with. I've been
Yeah.
helped by it. I've been burned by it. It doesn't particularly matter. To me, it's not a huge thing in tennis, so I don't really worry about it. But to any listeners out there, please do check what your books do because some, after one set of action, will call it. So you have to be a little careful if you think some of that stuff. I wouldn't worry about it though. But yeah, I actually think that can mess with you, right? Like you're all gassed up. You basically don't have a match, and it's like he may come out slow against Lehechka, a player he's lost to twice before in
And
Brisbane
it's
in December, or not in December,
and
in
it's not for nothing.
Monte Carlo.
We're 0 and 2 in the tracking of what happens after you've gotten a withdrawal. We had Landalus lose and Sakamoto lose. So there's no science behind it, but that's something to monitor.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's kind of similar to like a bye week in the NFL. Some teams it really helps. Some teams are if you get 2, 3 weeks, it's like you haven't played, you kind of want to play. Um, okay, so I like that one. I think that may be a best better. Plus 155 is certainly good. Now, what about Opelka and
I think I got to give you the floor on this one. You were
okay.
coming with some spicy takes on Opelka that
Okay.
I think the viewer
First
needs
thing,
to
man,
hear.
I looked up Opelka and I see all these Twitter jabronis saying stuff. It's like these people, man, are out of their minds. Someone was like, easy winner for Opelka. I handed it out last night. If you're handing that pick out, that is just wild man picks. I can go out and hand out like plus
Yeah,
900, plus 1100 players, and no one's going to care when they lose because, like, oh, whatever, plus 1100, and then come out there and be like, easy winner. He was down a break to Djokovic. How many times are you coming back from that? Then he wins an 8-6 breaker. The best tiebreak player of all time, Novak Djokovic, loses a breaker to a dude who has just now. Oh, he still hasn't because that counted his breakers. Is still below 50% all-time tiebreak win in Opelka. Like, whatever, dude. He had an all-time tree match, but these people are out there. I saw someone else like, this is why you back Opelka. He's got fight. Fight? I've seen that guy tank literal matches. Tank sets is obvious for big servers. You get broken, you're like, whatever. But I've seen him tank. It's like, what are, like I said, these people are out of their minds, man. I'm just like, okay. I don't know what to say about this. That being said, I don't think I want to get involved in this match. GMP and Opelka, it is minus 250 to have a first set breaker, minus 2000 to have a breaker at any point in the match.
yeah, that's one that I don't recommend anybody tuning in to watch. Nonetheless, I don't recommend anybody to bet on it.
Yeah,
Your soul will just go to die if you watch that match. What I recommend you do, fire up tennis TV tomorrow morning when you're, sat having your morning coffee and see wins that tiebreak and how they do it, because there is something to
Mm.
be told from what do they do in those clutch moments? Like at those 3-all points in the tiebreak, who's got that dog in them to pull out a return? And that could shape your portfolio for 2025 if you've seen the guy step up like that. But as it goes today, don't watch, don't bet, move on. There's more fun, Go watch Ito play. Go watch some people where the
Yeah.
rallies are actually going to be tennis. Like we're not very pro serve bot watching here.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be good information for whoever gets to the final, hopefully
Yeah.
against Lehechka. And there are two more in Hong Kong. Now, the first thing I got to say on this is I was a more pro Nishi than you when he was playing Scam Nori because I don't trust Scam Nori, right? That's why he's Scam Nori. This guy is like the definition of can't get over the line. I don't want to get into it, right? But I've seen him play matches where I'm like, what are you like? Why? Like, what are you doing? Or just like a slow burning plane crash, and he's like trying to cheer his way past. I don't want to get too much into scam noise. Here's what I think is interesting: uh, Shang and Nishi. I I'm considering getting involved with Shang again.
Yeah, what are the odds for that?
It's plus 105 Shang, minus 125 Nishi. I think they're really giving Shang the big booty spank for having gotten
Yeah,
whipped by Marzon in the first set.
it's tough. I like Shang, so like I want him in the finals. I think it's really cool that he's starting to make good on his potential. At a betting sense, I'd get involved as well.
Okay. We'll see if it makes the best bets. We'll discuss it in a
Yeah.
minute. What about Mueller and Munar?
This, if you love, so one of my favorite times of year is the clay court swing in South America that comes up, the golden swing. This is the kind of matchup I'd see in the golden swing, and I'm getting it in January. I'm fucking ecstatic. Munar is going to be out there with some of the unholiest, loudest grunts you've ever seen, wearing just abysmal clobber in the muscle shirts. And then Mueller's got the like discount Rafa buggy whip forehand, just dirtiest kick you've ever seen, like Daniel Himino Traver. That
Oh
said,
my
no value to bet. This is so unpredictable.
God.
If you've
So
got some fly, go for it.
to give you another piece of it here. These guys, so glad you said you're gonna love this. They've played 4 times, all in clay court
Yeah,
challengers.
fuck yeah. That's tennis prestige right there. Those
The
are the
last
guys
two
that you
times
love to
they played,
watch.
they split the matchup. Mueller won in 2023. Munar won in 2024, both on clay, both three setters. And they're right now ranked 67 and 62. Like this is just, and this actually Mueller's peak rank. So I guess if you're in theory interested in trying to get involved with these guys, like you can, you're gonna love this too, Kyle. You ready for this? I'm on
Yep.
Tennis Abstract ELO. So you're gonna Munar is 62 and his ELO is 108.
Oh yes.
Mueller is 67 and his ELO is 107.
They are the tournament hoovers. I think something else that's interesting for if you wanted to get involved with Munar, Jose Morgado on Twitter was talking about Munar in 2024 at the ATP level was 0 and 10 in deciding sets, 0 and 22 after losing the first set. You flip around to this week, he's 2 and 0 in both deciding sets and 2 and 0 after losing the first set. And this is on a hard court. So this is about as
Your semifinal.
unpredictable as a match to bet on as you'll ever get.
Yeah, it's gonna be the first match on, so I will be watching.
Yeah, this is a what I honestly like. There's going to be a category where we have watch, don't bet, and I think this is one of those where it might set us up for the final. But this is just the purest form of tennis because this is a basically a guy's Wimbledon here. Like you get to the final at the start of a tournament. Like I know Mueller's been there. He got to the finals of Marrakech 2 years ago or last year. But to get a chance to enter the arena for a trophy, that's why you watch sports.
I agree with you there. All right, we'll go ahead and get to the best bets portion here since we've pretty much covered everything else. Again, and you know what? We'll save your thing. So, let's make a rule here. Unless it's an absolute slammer at a big plus money, which look, the last time I remember having one of those was when Lucas Pouille was plus 425 over Milos Raonic in the US Open like 5 years ago. And that was when I was running around the office saying, slam it, slam Pouille, right? Unless we have one of those, I think that we'll have anything like more than plus 200 or 250 we put into like a spicy dog matchup, right?
Yeah.
Because and we'll keep track of those separately and see how we do, and because you have to take those differently like you said. So we'll do best bets first, and we'll end with a spicy dog. For me, I'm still going to be on volley nets. It was a best bet from yesterday, but it's a carryover due to weather. You may get some good matchups in Auckland because they're going to play the first two and then play the matches later. So, like live betting, you're always going to have a chance, but obviously we can't talk about it here, which kind of sucks. But I'm still gonna carry over volley nets. Obviously, going to be on Ito, dude. Like you said, I have to get behind that one. Minus 145. That's my number one bet of the day here. I was considering Kudermetova, given that Kalinina had such a tough match. I think that's still going to be a pass. So I'm just going to carry over volley nets, go with Ito, and then I don't know about Shang. If you endorse Shang, I'll get on Shang. But those are the
Uh,
two for me.
yeah. So my best bets, I'm gonna be in on Lehechka versus Dimitrov.
I
I
like
like
that.
that,
I'm on that too.
and I think there's value in the Shevchenko match, so I'm gonna put that in my category. And
Okay,
then
I
if
like
you
that.
want a dual endorsement, I'm in on Shang. I think this is the tournament where he has, like, show us what you got. Like, go beat the hero of a tennis nation. Like, show us.
So I think that I'm gonna say for sure, like I'm putting Ito top confidence. If she burns us, she burns us. But it's already been two winners, so I'm going with her first. And she has beaten TG away twice when they played in straight sets. So I'm going there. And then after that, I'm thinking that probably I think Lehechka I like a little more than Shang. So I'm gonna go with Ito Lehechka. Then I'll put Shang in there and still volley nets. I don't have as much confidence. I'm not quite sure. Maybe the carryovers mess with me. And we'll go from there. Those are our best bets right there. So once again, we'll go Ito Lehechka, Shang volley nets, and then here are your dogs. Here's your spicy dogs. You like Shevchenko plus 250.
And I
And what was
like
the other one?
Ethan fucking Quinn
Ethan Quinn. Let's
at
go.
plus 390.
I like that one too. I'm actually seeing plus 380, so maybe it
So I
took a
think
little
think
money.
it's important. I think going forward, we're gonna need to be singing from the same playbook sheet. So for the listeners, what is the sports book that you use?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Though, again, most people are gonna, if you're really interested, you're gonna shop the line, right? If it's
Yeah.
something where you're betting, I'm under the assumption people are use the unit of $100 per bet. I don't know if that's right or not, right? But it makes my math a lot easier.
Hmm.
And so I think for that level, unless the odds are really like disparate, you're going to use whatever book you're using. It's not really going to matter if it's
Fair
plus
enough.
275, plus 280, or minus 140, minus 145. It's only, I think, if you're in there betting five figures that you're going to want to go and chop the line.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for us. So again, good luck with anything you take to the window. And I don't know if we'll be back tomorrow for some finals matchups, but we'll see.
We might throw in a listener special on Sunday. Start talking about players we're excited for 2025 and
Ooh.
players we might be dumping. Because finals, that's interesting, but that might not be the meat and potatoes of who we are as
Yeah,
tennis betters.
exactly. I agree with you there. All right. Again, good luck to the window. That's it for today.